Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight TV edition. I am Peter, that is Tim, and we are going to talk about Tales from the Crypt Season 7, Episode 1. It's called Fatal Caper. So, I almost said Fatal Kipper there, but that's a very different thing. Fatal Caper. So, full spoilers for the episode as always, and obviously he's in the episode, but I only just noticed that Bob Hoskins also directed the episode. Hence why they've got a relatively big name who's got a pretty minor role in this, so that makes sense. It's a little cameo, but he's there to direct more than anything else. The late great Bob Hoskins. Speaking of late and great, we've got Natasha Richardson, who's one of the main characters, was the wife of Liam Neeson before she passed away in I think 2010, give or take. She died.
No, I didn't realize that.
But yes, we have that. This one. Actually, the Crypt Keeper segment actually starts with like stock footage of London, and then it cuts into the crypt. And he's still in the crypt, but he says he's in London, so whatever. London has crypts as well, I guess. Look the exact same. Why not? Even though
London's like home of the crypts.
Even though the opening like title sequence has clearly told me that crypt is under a very specific house. It's never disclosed where that house is, admittedly. But I've never got in London. I mean, and if it has been London this whole time, then why is he making a big deal about it being London? So I'm just saying.
No, I think he was on vacation. Maybe he's visiting some type of ghoulish cousin or something. Maybe has a little London crypt he can stay in.
A distant cousin, head removed.
Yeah, exactly.
I made a Crypt Keeper style pun there. I apologize, jokes. I apologize. Yeah. I said I apologise, jokes. I apologise, folks, was what I meant to say. Cool, we're off to a good start today, Tabby.
Well, I like the idea that you're also just apologizing to the idea of jokes in general.
Yeah, that works.
Sorry.
So, yeah, so it's set in England. It's got an all English cast, and it's about a old rich man who's got a big mansion and he's dying, and he's got two sons who live with him. But there's a third son who he abandoned. He disowned 15 years ago, and he's not seen him since. But he actually wants to find the son because he's redoing his will because his heart's getting weak. He knows he's got unlimited time. He's not got much time left. But he hates the two sons that he's currently got. He's like, no, the one who was different was the one that I should have respected. These two are a pair of losers. One is just constantly having weird sex games with various people, and then the other one is just a conniving, greedy little shit. The little flashback we get is the old man's like, oh, it's Christmas bonus for all the staff, and he's going to give them all £50 in an envelope. And he says, no, how about you just give them £10, and I'll take all the extra 40s from all the other envelopes. So that's our introduction to him.
Yeah. Sounds like a rich person.
It does, actually. It really does. Timely. Well, that part of the episode's timely. I don't know about the rest of it. So, basically, Bob Hoskins works for him, and he brings in this Fiona, to help him with his will. And she sets up the conditions that when he dies, the other two sons will have to find the third son, and in order to get their inheritance. And if they don't, they won't get anything. It'll all go to charity. And then there's scheming between them, and trying to manipulate clauses in the contract, and then she seems like she's up to no good, and there's a whole thing. There's a whole host of things. And then we get a twist that comes out of absolute nowhere, and not only that, is a twist that this show's already done. But we'll get to that when we get to it. I'll ask the question. Timmy, did you enjoy Fatal Caper?
No, not really. It's just super boring. There wasn't really anything that captivating about it. The actors are fine, but there's nothing really that interesting about the characters. It's always great to see Bob Hoskins, but like you said, he has a small role. He's barely in it, and then it feels like they try to do the whole thing feels very twisty. It's like there's a twist and then a twist and then a twist and then another twist, but none of it is really that surprising or interesting.
Except the very final twist, which comes out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, we're doing this. Okay, sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's not even like whoa, my mind's blown. I didn't see that coming. It's just like, oh, that's where you're going with it. All right.
Yeah, because the twist there. So after they set up this clause, the sons aren't happy. And then with the conniving one, what's his name? I think that was. It wasn't Mycroft, was it? No, I think that was the dad. No, maybe that was Mycroft. I think that was Mycroft. But
Jeez.
Fiona goes to him and says, "Hey, there's a clause in the contract that if all the other brothers are dead, you get everything, or whatever one would get. So that's scheme to kill your brother, and we'll declare the one who's missing dead, and therefore you can get all the money. But and I'll help you do this. I'll help with the legal paperwork for a price, for a cut of the inheritance, for which he's all for." And we get this game of cat and mouse where the other brother tries to set up a seance to try and find out if the third brother's alive, but there's a whole montage of him setting up a fake seance with tape recorders and booby traps and little tricks and whatnot, and then they immediately find it because they suspect that he's up to no good, and
which is nice because it's like, oh, this maybe might be the most interesting thing in the episode, so it's nice that they just are like, oh boy, we're not going to do that. Like,
yeah,
okay.
it's weird because it feels out of nowhere in the first place, but it's like, okay, well maybe this could be a fun thing, and then they basically try and give him a heart attack, and then there's some twists and turns, and it turns out she's actually working with the other brother, the sex crazed one, because he offered her more money. And then they try and give him a heart attack, and then the old man who we thought was dead since the funeral pops up out the crypt that they're in, because they end up going to a crypt because of course it's a mansion, it has a crypt, and he sits up and scares the shit out of the son, and everyone's all happy. Well, not everyone, the sons are dead, but he's happy, and he's killed these two shitty sons, and he wants to find his other son. And then the twist out of complete nowhere is that Fiona is his son and had a sex change. That is the twist, and then and I feel like if that's where it was going the whole time, there's a couple of moments where the sex crazed brother tries to seduce her. Well, I say seduce her. He just blatantly asks, "Hey, would you like to have sex?" And she says no, and we get that twice, and it's like, okay, fine, but I feel like if the whole twist was going to be this turned out to be their brother all along, surely you would have done more things with that,
Oh no, definitely.
Have her almost try and seduce them or tempt them just to add to the twist at the end. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if the point of it is to be shocking and taboo and stuff, then I feel like you would go a little more sex heavy on it, and maybe not actually show them having sex or something, maybe that's too far, but have them maybe being really overly obnoxious with her and constantly trying to make passes or trying to grab her and stuff. So it is more of a comeuppance when at the end it's like, oh, these jerks, this is their just desserts.
That's kind of one of the big problems with it, is that there is no. I mean, I guess the old man gets comeuppance because he helped kill his sons, but we don't even know that he's doing that until the last couple of minutes of the episode. So it's not like we're waiting all episode for the bad guy to get comeuppance. I mean, I guess the sons are both kind of assholes and they get their comeuppance.
It's one of the things that kind of sucks about it too is you don't really know who to root for because everyone is not a very good person. So it's like, well, I mean, I don't really care about this old man or these two awful brothers, and then the one Frank, the long lost brother that gets a sex change or whatever. We don't know anything about him. I guess we're supposed to sympathize with him because he was kicked out or whatever, but we don't really know what the circumstances were.
I guess. I mean, here's what I don't get though, because so the one thing we know about it is that he was different to the others, but at the time that was just the implication was that he was just more normal and sensible compared to the other two who were complete scheming little shits. But I don't know if that was meant to be a hint that it was someone who wants a sex change, or did the sex change only happen as a because at the end, I mean, she basically reveals it to him with the sleepaway camp ending. We won't see it, of course. It's Tales from the Crypt. We don't actually see the shot, but drops the clothes and he's like, "You're a fella." That's the moment, right? And
oh, is that what he said? I didn't I didn't make it out.
Yeah,
with the accent.
I think he said fella.
Fella.
And I'm just kind of like, well, I feel like I need to know more about this character because right now it just feels like a really, really, really cheap twist. And
oh, definitely.
It's a sort of twist where,
if I had to guess, I would say that's probably more what they had in mind. Other than
it's a sort of thing where this twist will normally come off a little bit trashy at the least because it's just kind of a taboo subject, and it's like you're making light of something like this just for the twist. But whatever, it can be effective.
And I also think and I also think I mean, I guess it's different back in the day, but I think it was something back then that's like kind of supposed to be so unbelievable and so shocking, like, oh, like, people don't do that. Like, obviously nowadays it's, more of a
Yeah.
normal thing. Like, yeah, we don't really care when people do that, but I think back in the day, kind of the shockness of it was just like, someone actually went and did that. Like, and now it's like, who cares?
That's it. I don't think there's many examples these days of sex changes where the person getting the sex change is away from home and then comes back and then pretends not to be the same person and then reveals it later
Oh yeah,
on,
definitely.
like, in a soap
Yeah,
opera style twist. Like, no,
yeah.
father, I am your son. I don't know. Like, I feel like that doesn't happen too often, but that's still a
Yeah.
weird oddity. But here's the biggest problem with that twist, though. I mean, well, not the biggest, but one of the big problems is that we actually already did this last season, in fact. And one of the
Oh yeah.
we made two episodes last season that were quite good, the assassin episode. But
Mm.
there it made more sense because there you understood the motivation for doing it.
Which one was
Remember, it
that
was the
one again?
assassin, and we think it's the husband all
Mm.
episode, and it turns out it was the wife. And the sex change was
Oh,
just
right,
in
right.
part to like hide his identity and just
Yeah,
keep so the
right.
CIA couldn't find him. Like
Yeah, and that was the one where it's just obviously just like a female actor, and then they dubbed the
at the end, yeah.
voiceover at the
Yeah.
end. Yeah. Okay.
But Corey Feldman was in it and stuff. But that one, as
Yeah.
campy and as goofy as it was, you understood the line of thought of why the character did this. In this episode,
Oh yeah,
I don't
definitely.
know if it's actually someone who's transgender or this is just all the elaborate ruse to do this plan at the end. I don't actually know.
Yeah, no, and it was like a slightly longer episode, I feel
Yeah.
like, or at least maybe, compared to kind of the last couple of ones, it felt like it. And again, there was a lot of pointless stuff that you could have probably gotten rid of. Like, we didn't need all this back and forth with we're gonna do an exorcism, and like, oh no, here's him setting up all the traps, and then oh yeah, here's them finding out about it and taking it away and stuff. Like, yeah, maybe get rid of a few things like that, and then give a little backstory as to why the brother was kicked out, because I feel like, okay, then we would have more sympathy if it was something where yeah, he was shunned by his family because he was trying to transition
I
to
mean,
be like a
I
woman or
don't know
something
if
like
you could
that.
outright go as far as that, but at the very least, like have like not so much that the family knew that
It-
he wanted to change, but more
mm,
just his personality was leaning in that direction.
sure.
I feel like if
Yeah.
it was already like in that direction, it wouldn't be
So
like much of a twist at the end. But it's like, oh, it's me, father.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Maybe not as much of a twist, but at least we would have more
Yeah,
like context as to, oh, this is why she's coming back and doing this or whatever. Uh, I did like the line at the end though with the the father just being like very blunt, just being like, "May I say you have magnificent breasts," and just her being like, "Oh yes, well, there's other stuff that I have," and like I don't know, I thought it was kind of funny.
yes, yeah. I don't even know. That was the episode. That was the season 7 opener of Tales from the
Hmm.
Crypt.
All right.
Yeah, we're in for a ride. We get 12 episodes left of not only the season but the entire show. So we're in this final stretch, Timmy. We're going to do it. We're going to do it.
All right, here we
Yeah.
go. Well, I mean, I'm excited to see, where we go from here. Hopefully, even if there's not any good episodes, like at least bring back some of the like overly dumb and cheesy ones. Like at least, let's have fun with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. But hey, so that is episode 1 of season 7. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all the usual stuff. Get us on patreon.com/mailedfuzztv if you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary TV, guys, and we'll see you next time.